Hello, welcome. What's up? What's up? This is the Rational Live. I'm your host, David Dole. A lot to talk about today. Sorry I took so long to start this. But I always I misjudge how long it takes to tame my hair. But I need another haircut. I was so used to getting one haircut a year, and now I have to get one every month, and it feels like too much. But I have to get one soon. But yes, David's busy doing his hair. You're correct. Was that before I said that? Good prediction. So let me give you a little preview of today's show. Actually, before I do that, how do I forget this every week? But here you go. TheRationalNational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. Links are below the video. Help support the show. If you're here and you're watching live, you're one of the more loyal supporters of mine. So why not take it a little further and help support the show, either by joining on YouTube, which is the join button below, or joining on Patreon, or sending a super chat in, or all the above. You know, if you can afford it, that'd be great. But let me give you now a little preview of today. So, as you see from the title here, there have been actually several endorsements from American figures of Canadian politicians and parties, so I'll get to that shortly. Also, Morning Joe goes socialist, and I'll tell you exactly why he's doing it, which many people may not have caught on to, but I'll break that down. Bernie Sanders slamming the ridiculous Democrats that are holding up cuts to drug prices. I'll go over that story. Also, Alex Jones. There has been a clip that has been unearthed of Alex Jones. It's remarkable. So you have to stick around for that, or wait to see the clip when I post it up this weekend. Either or, but you're gonna see it. It's amazing. And then we have the weekly wrap up, and yeah, there we go. So, excuse me. Someone just David starting like he just rolled out of bed. Haha. I basically did. No. I thought you were not complimenting. I thought you were talking about how I look right now, because I think I look tired, because when you have a baby, sometimes they scream at the top of their lungs for about an hour or two, maybe 3, before they go to bed. And last night was one of those nights. So just screaming. So I'm a little tired today than usual, even though I'm usually always tired. But I will try to mask that with a drink of mine in this mug, and hopefully it all goes well. Matthew Fish, new member. Thank you for becoming a member, Matthew. Christo Avalis, check out our discussion this week. There's 3 clips. So I have we had a big interview this week. I put up 2 clips already. It's all on the Canadian election, but he sends super chat in saying, "Let's go, Bernie and Jugmeat." Don't spoil the story, Christo. It's the first story coming up. Don't worry, we'll get to it. But check out my discussion with him. Christo, of course, is a Canadian historian. Always good to get his perspective on the Canadian news. So, and part 3 of that discussion is going up tomorrow. All right, let me begin. There have now been several endorsements from American figures of Canadian political figures. So there's a Canadian election on Monday, September 20th. Of course, there is a lot going on there. I have several videos discussing that, including videos with Canadian historian Christo Avalis. Check it out on the channel. But I want to go over what these endorsements are, because these all came, one after another over the past 24 hours. So let's start with the one that came out first. At least I believe it came out first. Barack Obama tweeting out here, wishing my friend Justin Trudeau the best in Canada's upcoming election. Justin has been an effective leader and strong voice for democratic values, and I'm proud of the work we did together. So here you have a guy who fakes progressive, endorsing a guy who also fakes progressive, 2 neoliberals here. So if you like people that make lots of promises and don't deliver, Trudeau's your guy, Obama's your guy. There you go. Next one. Hillary Clinton. I have seen my friend Justin Trudeau show leadership in the fight for accessible childcare, protected reproductive rights, and ambitious climate action. I'm wishing him and our progressive Canadian neighbors the best in Monday's election. So this is what I call the anti-endorsement. Whenever Hillary Clinton endorses somebody, it usually helps their opponent. So you saw that with Elliot Engel when she endorsed Elliot Engel over Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman ended up being his top fundraising day, and then he ended up winning the primary against Elliot Engel. Similar with Nina Turner, it was one of her top fundraising days when Hillary Clinton endorsed Chantal Brown over her in that special election in Ohio. But then Chantal Brown, all the corporations came in and backed her at the last second and ultimately defeated Nina Turner. But now, let's see what happens. Is this going to lead to a big boost for Jagmeet Singh? Likely not really, because our elections don't really work the same. That said, it is interesting to see Hillary Clinton continue weighing in on various elections when nobody really cares for her. Not on, not on the left, not on the right. She has her constituency. There are her diehard supporters that buy her books, go to her shows, her events. But apart from that, doesn't really have much of an audience. But there you go. There's that endorsement. Now, let's get to the important one. Here you go. I got to say, I did not expect this. I don't think Bernie endorsed last time. Maybe he did. But here you go. Bernie Sanders tweeting out, Canada goes to the polls Monday. There's one party that stood up for working people in the pandemic. One leader who has the courage to make the wealthy pay their fair share so everyone gets the medication they need. That's why I support the NDP and Jagmeet Singh. Bernie Sanders officially endorsing the NDP and Jagmeet Singh. Fantastic to see. Obviously, out of the three major parties in Canada, Bernie's most aligned with the NDP. So if he were to endorse anybody, this endorsement is not, his choice here is not surprising. But the fact that he endorsed at all, I do find kind of surprising. He doesn't normally weigh in on these sorts of discussions, though to be fair, maybe he did last time and I forgot, but I don't think he did. But here you go, endorsement. And you know what? This may actually help in some way. There definitely is a constituency of progressives or left people on the left, Bernie supporters here in Canada. And it may, I doubt it's going to flip people from the Liberals or from another party to the NDP. But what it may do is encourage people to get off the couch and vote when they didn't really plan to. So we're going to see. These endorsements, who knows what kind of impact they really have. But I do think this could have at least maybe a tiny bit of an impact. We'll see on Monday. Though, of course, at this point, we're expected to see either obviously Canadian, but either a Liberal or a Conservative minority government, and the NDP, weighing in, or the votes there potentially shifting how that all turns out. But again, more on that on Monday. Last thing here, Jagmeet Singh responded to Bernie Sanders, saying, Bernie, you have fought courageously for public health care, affordable medication, making the rich pay their fair share, and tackling the climate crisis. We're doing the same here. Canada, better is possible, but you have to vote for it. He's right. You got to vote. Now, of course, voting isn't the only way you can potentially impact policy or the lives of Canadians or whatever country you live in. There are many ways, through organizing, through unions, through joining a union, starting a union, many different ways to get involved and influence policy. But of course, there's an election, so you might as well vote. So I already voted. I voted early. I think it's the best way to go. But if you haven't voted yet, make sure you vote on Monday, September 20th in this election. And I am supporting the NDP this election. I've made that pretty clear. I'm a former Green Party candidate from several elections ago. The Green Party this year has kind of lost its way a little bit with the new leader, though if you are in Paul Manley's riding, I would still support Paul Manley. If you're in Elizabeth May's riding, I would still support Elizabeth May. But apart from that, I think the NDP, especially, of course, consider the riding you're in and consider how the math works out and what you care about. And if I don't want to get too deep into it. Of course, it ends up being your own decision. But ultimately here, I support the NDP, and so does Bernie Sanders. All right. There we go. Now, my chairs. Does my squeaky chair catch on the mic? I don't think it does. Good. All right. Because it is squeaking like hard right now. Let me grab some super chats and then prep the next story here. Alyssa Burke, new member. Thank you, Alyssa, for becoming a member. Car Wash Freak 97 says Democratic leaders know that if the 3.5 budget bill don't pass, progressives in the House have the numbers to kill the corporate infrastructure bill. Yes, they do. So that's still that fight is still going on. I haven't read the latest on all that, but yeah, I guess some point in the next few weeks we're going to see how that all goes. Darren Butler says Hillary endorsed Trudeau. Damn, feels bad, man. Mr. 13 FNG, if I read that properly, says, given NDP's gains, do you think the NDP can keep the socialist-driven momentum, or will corporate corporate politics direct its aim to diffuse their momentum post-election, similar to Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. So, it's really less about, because of the way our system is here, I think it's less about corporate influence and more just about the system that we operate in, which is capitalist. So that's always going to be, and by the way, there's a bit of discussion in my discussion with Christo during this or on this election. He brings it up because I discuss how, we've had NDP governments provincially in Ontario, Alberta, BC, and when they've gained power, they have tended to all of a sudden become more neoliberal. So a lot of it is the system, but when you have a provincial party, of course, is different than what the power of a federal party, what they have. But in terms of the NDP's trajectory here, they're more left this time than last time. So they're calling for a lot more spending this time than in the last election, showing you, I think, they know what voters want. They understand that voters want a real investment, and that's going to continue. That part isn't going to change. So if anything, I think the NDP will become even more left. And so I don't see the party, to be clear here, the NDP it's very unlikely they're going to form government. But so it's not really the same situation with Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party. And I had a whole breakdown on that when that election happened, and that wasn't about, dissatisfaction with socialists. It was about, honestly, I forget. It was like, 2 years ago? It was about something else, but I covered it at the time. But yeah, the influences here are just different. So no, if anything, I see the NDP going more left. Joey Johns says, could you imagine the PPC party winning in a big upset? Obviously, that would never happen, but it would be a shocker, kind of like what we saw with Trump. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. If the PPC formed government, there is nothing you can compare that to because they have no seats right now. Like, I don't think you would. It's a better comparison would be like if the Green Party won in 2016. That's an actual comparison. So because the Green Party have, no one in Congress, no one in the Senate, if they all of a sudden won in 2016, that's how you would compare. Like, that win is comparable to the PPC winning this time. So no, there is no chance at all of the PPC forming government. And if that were, not saying there's no chance of it happening, but in your scenario, it would be completely insane. It's just not possible. But at the same time, they are gaining support this time, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with vaccines, with the pandemic, a lot of the angst around vaccines and the misinformation around that. So, and by the way, video up today. That part of my discussion with Christo is already up on the channel. Second player says, don't forget to shout out the Discord. Yes, Discord, which I did visit this week. I will try to do more of that. Once my kid starts going to bed without screaming, maybe I can go on the Discord more often. But yes, check out the Discord. If someone can link it in the chat, though you may not be allowed to. I'll have to do it later, but I'll get the link later and share it out. But yes, join the Discord. Chopperfly says, we just had a drug for glaucoma to prevent blindness go from about $100 a month to $250 a month, and our Walgreens plan stopped reducing it. That's crazy. And I have a pharmaceutical story coming up shortly about how 3 Democrats are blocking the ability for Medicare to negotiate down drug prices. I'll get more into that when I discuss that, but that's insane. Los Nino says, I can't vote NDP even though I'd love to, but here where I live, the Liberals and Bloc are tied in polls. That's fair enough. Everyone has, I totally understand. Like, if the NDP are in like 4th place or 5th place in your riding, and there doesn't seem to be any ground support for them, and I don't know. It's all up to the individual how you want to vote. Ultimately, here it's the system that is still constrained by first past the post. So, Americans may look at our system and think, oh, wow, look at all these parties I could vote for. Technically, yes, but also because of first past the post, no one but the conservatives or liberals really have at this point, a realistic shot of forming government. So it's, until that system is changed, that's going to be a constant issue. Where did I go? A lot of super chats today. I got to say thank you so much for the support. One more before I go on to the next story, then I'll read the rest after. Literal Ill says, I stopped getting all live alerts. Haven't caught a live in a while. By chance, I did today. Thank you for your level-headed takes. Thank you. And yeah, I've noticed that generally about my videos, you know, just the alerts aren't going out the way they used to. Views are down across the board. And it's not just for me. It's independent media in general. Views are down. And a large reason for that, as I've discussed 1,000 times, but sorry to repeat myself, YouTube props up what they call authoritative news sources. So corporate-backed media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Fox News gets put above me in the algorithm by far, because they are a corporate-backed organization. So this is why I ask for your support, because if it weren't for Patreon, YouTube members, and super chats, there'd be an issue, an even bigger issue. But it's good to have that continued support, and it's a constant battle, unfortunately. And even, you know, alerts at the very least should be working, as that is our subscriber base. But even that doesn't appear to work half the time. Okay. At the same time, though, might as well subscribe, hit the bell icon in the hopes that it does work. So if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe, then hit the bell notification icon and click it for all notifications. I only put up like 2 videos a day, so hopefully that shouldn't bother you to get notified twice a day. But yeah, do that, and that helps me as well. All right, I'm going to pause there so I can prep the next story. I will be right back. All right, back again. I love this story. I really do, because there's a couple layers here. All right. MSNBC's Joe Scarborough turned into Bernie Sanders, absolutely losing it on large corporations and the wealthy while discussing the House Democrats' weak tax proposal. Now, as you're going to see, he's exactly right. But after the clip, I will tell you the real reason why Joe Scarborough is so angry.
The top marginal tax rate is proposed to be raised to 39.6 from 37%. But that, as you know, doesn't get at the way the super wealthy and corporations make their money and avoid taxes.
Well, and we see it every year. I don't understand what's going on when you have the people writing the tax bill for the Democrats saying they're concerned about moderates' concerns. What, do they want Jeff Bezos and Amazon to keep paying $0 in tax? Is that a moderate concern, or is that actually a lobbyist's concern? Because over the past few years, there are corporations that have paid zero taxes in a year. And just over the past couple of years, that includes Amazon, Chevron, Avis, Delta, Eli Lilly, GM, Goodyear, Halliburton, Honeywell, IBM, Netflix, Occidental Petroleum, Owens Corning, Salesforce, U.S. Steel. Last year, Archer Daniels, FedEx, Nike, billionaires, capital. It doesn't get taxed. Workers' wages do. And so now Democrats in Congress are saying we need to raise the taxes on people who are working, but leave billionaires alone as they continue to amass capital and continue. Listen to me here, because everybody hates income redistribution. That makes you a socialist, doesn't it? If you're for a scheme that redistributes wealth, well, let me tell you something. In the world we've lived in over the past 40 years, there's been the largest income redistribution scam in American history. And it's been the middle class that's been looted while trillions keep flowing into the bank accounts of billionaires. Did you hear what I just said? This whole income redistribution thing we keep, you can't raise taxes on people because that will be income redistribution. You're a socialist. Well, guess what? The very people who are saying that, the very people who are funding think tanks that'll say that, the very people that are paying lobbyists to get the message out to say that, the very people who are spending millions and millions of dollars on lawyers and lobbyists on K Street who are saying that, they're the people who have scammed you. They're the people whose monopolies continue to be untouched. They continue to be untouched all because they can buy the best lobbyists, they can buy the best lawyers, they can buy the best influencers on Capitol Hill, across Washington, D.C., and across Wall Street. Please, Democrats, do better than that.
Bernie Sanders, the new host of Morning Joe. That was remarkable. Now, you may wonder, why? Why is Joe Scarborough so angry at large corporations and the wealthy? Why has he never had this anger before? Why wasn't he a big backer of Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020? If he felt this way, he should have been a huge Bernie bro. But here's the reality. As I'll get to, the tax proposal from Democrats impacts him. His taxes go up. And he's seeing, as I'll get to in the details, he's seeing his taxes go up while people like Jeff Bezos are getting off free. So, and that isn't to say, that anything he said here was wrong. No, he's exactly right. It's good this message is getting out. If he's faking it, not faking it, but if he's obscuring the truth here for why he's really angry to put out this message, I have no issue with that. Good. But I just want to get a little deeper for us to, really understand what's motivating him here. So this is the article they are referring to in the New York Times. House Democrats' plan to tax the rich leaves vast fortunes unscathed, which is true. It is a weak tax plan. But let's get a little deeper here. So the proposal includes substantial measures to raise taxes on the rich. Taxable income over $450,000 or $400,000 for unmarried individuals would be taxed at 39.6%, the top rate before President Donald Trump 2017 tax cut brought to 37%. So this right here directly impacts Joe Scarborough. His money is made through income. So, I don't know his exact salary, but it's in the millions, clearly. And so he will be taxed more. But that isn't how the wealthy, the extreme wealthy, make their money. Under the committee's plan, a 3% surtax would be applied to incomes over $5 million. So again, also impacting Joe Scarborough here. But this is why it hurts him and doesn't hurt the ultra wealthy. What's not included is notable. The richest of the rich earn little from actual paychecks. Mr. Bezos' salary as the founder of Amazon was $81,840 in 2020. So a surtax on income would have little impact. Their vast fortunes in stocks, bonds, real estate, and other assets grow largely untaxed each year. It's completely insane that Jeff Bezos will be taxed less than people that make more than this, even though he's a billionaire. But in knowing that, he understands, hey, I'm not gonna give myself a huge salary because it's gonna be taxed off me. So I'm gonna make a small 81 grand, small for him, 81 grand a year. Meanwhile, all his money is in stocks, bonds, real estate, and other assets that go largely untaxed. And this is why Joe Scarborough's pissed. He's seeing people like Bezos, the ultra wealthy, the billionaires. And to be clear here, while Joe Scarborough is rich, it's not anywhere near Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and billionaires. So to see billionaires get away while people making over 400 grand a year are the ones being targeted here in the tax is absurd. Not saying that they shouldn't be taxed, but in general, I think there is a bit of an issue with income taxes. And the focus here really should be on wealth and assets, on stocks. And that is where all the extreme wealthy make their money. So while Joe Scarborough makes a fantastic point, I completely agree. I'm glad he's getting this message out on MSNBC. It's just important to understand that his motivation may not be as pure as it seems. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. I like that story because it's got everything. It's got everything. Joe Scarborough having a great take, which is news, because that's rare, but at the same time, a great take backed by greed. But it is what it is. All right, let me grab some more chats before I prep the next story. Brian Holmes says, it just moved on me, lost my place. Brian Holmes says, what are your thoughts on Rose McGowan? She now just another corporate grifter who now backs Republicans. Honestly, I don't know what the hell's going on with her. I saw her endorse Larry Elder, which was so absurd. So many levels. The idea that you're going to own the elites by endorsing a Republican elite? Come on. So I have no idea what's motivating her, so I'm not going to speculate, but clearly, Rose McGowan is not someone to take seriously. After that endorsement, it's very clear. Brandon N. says, with all the hate Trudeau getting, despite the fact he called the election during a pandemic, if O'Toole wins, Trudeau will look like an absolute idiot. Yeah. Here's the thing. Before Trudeau called the election, all polling supported Trudeau and the Liberals. And provincial elections up to that point had largely re-elected whoever was in power already. So that combined with the great poll numbers for the Liberals and Trudeau at the time, basically it appeared in early August that there was this small window for Trudeau to have this election, the snap election, before the Delta variant potentially, kicked into high gear and made it even more difficult to potentially go out and vote. So that's why he called the election. It looked like he could potentially form a majority, but it's backfired. And look, I don't want to see the Conservatives in power, but the best case scenario here, the ultimate best case scenario would be the NDP forming government, but that is unlikely to happen, even though I support them, go out and vote for them. But based on the way things are going, that's unlikely. But the best case scenario in terms of what appears to be realistic at this point in time is the Liberals lose even more seats and have to rely further, even more on the NDP to pass anything. So if that ends up being the case, then I'm fine with that. A Liberal minority with even more NDP power sounds like would be a good outcome for me. All right, next one. I never know how to say your name right. I'll just call you Ball. Ball228 says, how is it that Rob Ford looks like the more sensible member of his family? Also, I'd sing Canada's praise for a NDP PM. How does it Rob Ford looks like the more sensible member of his family? Well, that's because he's currently a skeleton underground. Rob Ford died of cancer. Do you mean Doug Ford? Or do you actually mean Rob Ford and you're just saying he looks sensible based on how Doug Ford is now? Because ultimately they're both ridiculous. I can't really choose there. Rob Ford and Doug Ford are both ridiculous figures. But one ain't here anymore, so, I'm not going to spend too much time on him. But Doug Ford, man, let's hope he loses next year. Mr. 13 says, we love you, David. Please don't stop. I really respect and appreciate what you do. Independent journalism is key and make the world a better place. Thank you. I try. Don't know how much of an impact I really have. Actually, I don't want to... I'll just say this. I was recognized this week. And the reason I'm hesitating here is because I don't want to make it sound like I'm like, oh, I'm so awesome, I was recognized. No, it's just because it never happens. But I was actually recognized this week. I was out at dinner with my family, and I think his name was Alex, but I'm really bad at names. But I think his name was Alex. But he waited till after I was done eating, and like we were leaving. Then he got up, put his mask on, and like said some nice things. It was really cool. And that gave me like a lot of energy, surprisingly, because you don't really know what kind of impact you really have on people until somebody tells you in person, like confronts you in person and tells you that you've had an impact on them. So, Alex, if that's your name, again, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names, but if that's your name, whoever you are, thank you for coming up and saying those kind of words. That was very nice of you. And I think that was only the second time I was recognized. No, third time, but that was the best time because this guy actually spoke to me and we had a nice interaction. All right. Is there more chats? If so, I'll do that. Lawn Gnomes, $5. It cuts off your chat for some reason. Let me scroll up. Here we go. Lawn Gnome says, took Scarborough 10 years to figure out what Occupy Wall Street was about. Yeah, totally. It's just, this is why, I enjoy covering these kinds of things, like when MSNBC or CNN says something that's actually progressive or socialist or whatever, because it never happens. But also understand, there's a reason why it never happens. Like, there's a reason why they didn't back Bernie or didn't, weren't talking up Bernie enough during the election, or largely ignored him, especially in 2016. They're still getting paid by large corporations. They still largely have a perspective that is pro-corporate, pro-wealthy, and they will very, almost never touch that topic in a critical way, unless they have someone else on to talk about it briefly. But still, Morning Joe had this moment, but I guarantee you, he'll just switch back again in 6 months and be the usual Morning Joe he always is. So it's, these sorts of moments don't always last. There's more chats. Look at this. Man, all the support. I did not expect this. All the support today is wonderful. Thank you. Bose Einstein says, Q says nurses kill COVID patients. Time to attack. Q says nurses kill COVID patients. Of course they would say stupid things. Ryan Nowicki says, if Trump were to run and win in 2024, do you think he would could charge... Sorry, there's some typos here. If Trump were to run and win in 2024, do you think he would could charge General with treason for blocking his post-election military authority? I don't know, and I don't want to think about that scenario. I don't want to think about Trump winning. I don't want to think about Trump running, let alone winning in 2024. I don't know where to start with that, but I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, Ryan. Pierre Proudhun, if I can find your chat. It always cuts off the last one, which is really weird. Until I scroll up and find it. Or scroll down and find it. Pierre says, Rob Ford, McDonald's rant, Jamaican accent. I don't know what this is about. Is this a Rob Ford moment I missed? I don't know. But thank you, Pierre, for your super chat. All right, time to prep the next story, which I forget what that is. Oh, a Bernie story. All right. Be right back. All right, I'm back again. Let me get to this. Bernie Sanders. Three House Democrats are holding up the ability for Medicare to negotiate down prescription drug prices. And Bernie Sanders is calling out their crap. So he was on MSNBC with Chris Hayes, and this topic came up. Check it out.
You mentioned the pharmaceutical industry, and I want to follow up on a conversation we just had about those three Democrats on the Energy and Commerce Committee who voted against Medicare drug price negotiation plan as proposed. That's Scott Peters of California, Kurt Schrader of Oregon, Kathleen Rice of New York. They say, hey, look, we need a bipartisan, bicameral solution. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I think it's totally absurd. I mean, you have a Republican Party, which is a right-wing extremist party right now, which is owned by the pharmaceutical industry. The polling out there is just unbelievable. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, overwhelming majority of the American people understand that the pharmaceutical industry is ripping us off in an unconscionable way. You may recall, I've made 2 trips to Canada with people from Vermont and people from the Midwest. We bought insulin and other prescription drugs for 1/10 of the price that the drug companies are selling the same product here in the United States of America. Thousands of people die every year because they can't afford the medicine that they need. The question is whether we have the guts to stand up to what is an incredibly powerful lobby. Do you know how much money these guys in the pharmaceutical industry have spent over the last 20 years on lobbying and campaign contributions?
I don't.
You know?
Nope.
$4.5 billion. You know how many lobbyists they have on Capitol Hill right now? Twisting arms. They got 1,200 lobbyists. That's more than two per member of Congress. So they don't lose. They have owned the Congress forever. And whether or not we can stand up to them and defeat them and finally do what the American people want, lower the cost of prescription drugs, is something we have got to do.
So, of course, Bernie Sanders, a clear voice on this issue, has been very consistent on this issue. And if you are from outside the U.S., like I am, you're aware of just how ridiculous the cost of drugs are in America. So insulin is 10 times the cost in the U.S. compared to Canada, just as one example. And as you see there, Bernie mentions there are more than 2 lobbyists for every member of Congress from the pharmaceutical industry. Just wild. So these 3 members of the House, Democrats, that voted against this, Representative Scott Peters of California, Kathleen Rice of New York, and Kurt Schrader of Oregon. If any one of these are your representative, time to primary. These are people that, we're going to see maybe Justice Dems, another group looking to primary one of these out after or in their next reelection. But it's absurd to have these Democrats aligned with pharmaceutical companies joining the GOP in voting against the ability for Medicare to negotiate down drug prices. Now, of course, let's look at why that is. So taking a look at Ken Klippenstein here, tweeting out, as David Dayen writes, those 3 I just mentioned, but you take a look at their money from Open Secrets. So you go to Open Secrets, you can look up any one of these representatives, where they get their money from, what industries. Kurt Schrader, one of them here, pharmaceuticals is one of his top industries where he gets money from. Of course, as is Scott Peters, one of his top industries. Now, interestingly enough, Kathleen Rice is not on this list. I don't know why Kathleen Rice is voting against with everybody else, but she does get a lot of money from the health insurance industry, so that may be a part of it. But a little more here. So nearly 18 million U.S. adults couldn't afford a prescription medication this year. Just showing you how incredibly expensive. And I've done many stories, where it's discovered that, this pharmaceutical giant decided to triple the price of this cancer drug all of a sudden because they knew that their patients needed it. And this happens again and again and again, and they get away with it. Or at the worst, they get like a small fine that has no impact on them whatsoever. But a lot of people simply can't even afford these prescriptions. And this is in addition to, of course, the lack of access to healthcare, not having Medicare for all. That's a whole other discussion, but that obviously has a major impact on the health and wellness of Americans all across the country. Preventative measures are one of the best ways to address serious healthcare issues, or issues that could become serious if they're not addressed early. Medicare for all, guaranteeing healthcare to everyone, would then allow people to visit their doctor earlier if they suspect something, as opposed to waiting to the last moment when that healthcare issue has ballooned into a much larger issue, which becomes a lot more expensive, and that becomes an issue both for the individual but also on the system. But still, these are, taboo subjects in a lot of circles in Washington. Last thing here from Common Dreams. Medicare, the largest buyer of prescription medicines in the U.S., is currently barred by federal law from negotiating prices with drug manufacturers thanks to a non-interference clause that progressives have long sought to repeal. Democrats' current proposal would amend the clause to allow the Secretary of Health and Human Services to negotiate prices on behalf of Medicare, a plan that could dramatically cut costs for patients and produce hundreds of billions of dollars in federal savings over the next decade. And as Bernie mentioned, support for this is universal. Republican voters support this. Democratic voters, of course, support this. But even Democrats having Congress and having the White House, they still are unable to pass this just because of the sheer amount of power the pharmaceutical and private health industry has over politicians. All right. Did you guys hear my kid crying throughout that video? Jesus Christ. I tried to focus and tell you stuff and educate people, and I hear my child crying in the background. Don't worry, he's not alone. Obviously, my partner's taking care of it. But it's just, I need to soundproof the walls. That's what I should probably do. All right. Let me grab some chats. All right. Man, I gotta say again, a lot of super chats, and that's amazing. Thank you. Is it the headline? Are people like, who did Bernie support? Maybe I should I need to clickbait my live streams more often. I think that's what I gotta do. Car Wash Freak says, by the way, when 9/11 happened, I was 4 years old. I'm 24. I was in the 10th grade, and I did not know what the hell the World Trade Center was. So there's that. Javier Ramirez says, hi, David. Did you see Michael Tracy getting trolled on Sam Cedars College? Hilarious. Do you mean Sam Cedars' show? Yeah, I saw that. I didn't really understand what was going on. Why was Michael Tracy at some random college, talking to student? The whole thing really confused me. I don't even know what the hell he was doing out there. But my general, certain people have a lot of power that, yes, they deserve clowning and attention because they deserve that clowning. But we should ignore Michael Tracy. Well, just ignore him. Why are we giving this guy any air? He's a ridiculous person. He's a guy that doesn't, if anything, us giving him any air is helping him. So, I'm more in the camp of let's ignore the people that don't really have all that much power, because otherwise we're giving them power. But if they already have power, then yes, clown away. Mike H says, how do we unify the left again? We have been so divided since the 2020 primary, and it's getting worse, especially since Force the Vote. We can't win this way. This is just, I honestly think a lot of this is just online hoopla. I don't know how much impact this really has in the real world. A lot of the supporters of those more zany podcasts and shows are on the right anyways. You look through their comments when those same individuals cover a story that is critical of, say, Republicans on race, for example, or critical of the cops. Those videos get downvoted. These so-called leftists, their videos criticizing cops get downvoted, and the comments are, slamming them for criticizing cops because they have a right-wing audience. So and because of that, you see those individuals cover those issues less often. So these aren't people that have any real impact on any real left circles. A lot of it's just hot air. Mateus N. I've seen you many times, but I never know how to say your name. Let me find your chat since it was cut off. Noticed you reacted, commented on Sock Media about the results of the Norwegian elections. Social media. Okay. Think it's cool you pay attention about news politics outside of not just North America. That's really rare. Of course. I mean, when it comes to, now to be fair, I don't know the details of that election, but it's important to understand that this working class movement is international. It's not just about, in my case, the US and Canada, even though that's my focus because that's what I understand and follow. But when we see these sorts of wins, be it in other countries, I mean, it's important that we, at the very least, acknowledge it and discuss how this is a real, international movement and isn't just about our little pockets and hoping that people here, do well and screw everybody else. No, it's about the entire world. We all face the same issues worldwide when it comes to what capitalism has done. And, that's why I think it's important to acknowledge all of that. All right. Pausing there. Let me go to the next story. Oh my God. I love this next story. All right. I love it. I'll be right back. We're going to cover this. This is just pure entertainment, but we all need a break now and then. So I'll be right back with this fun story. And I'm already ready. There really wasn't much prep involved for this one. It's a couple of clips, but see some new super chats coming in. I'll read those and then I'll get to the next story. Tejaswai, I'm sorry, I cannot read your name. I'm very bad at names. I'm bad at English names, let alone names from other countries. But says I used to be a Trump supporter till elections and trolled your stream. I used to be a Trump supporter till elections and trolled your stream, but I am your fan now. You have empathy, you are not self-obsessed, and you don't punch down. You don't live in a bubble. Much respect. Wow. Awesome. It's a good thing I didn't block you. Sometimes you'll see crazy people, and it's like, I don't want to hear this person, so you mute them or, you block them. But occasionally I will see people where it's like, you know what, this person, they have some hope. I can change this person, and I will let them be. So maybe you're one of those individuals. It's good to see. It's good to see that. Thank you for your super chat. And apologies with the names. In general, I'm not good at names. Like this name. Josu Golan, is that your name? Says, what you think of El Salvador president repressing people over Bitcoin and trying to hide it from the U.S. I don't know anything about the story, so I cannot comment. No idea. But thank you for your super chat. Jessica McKenzie, a very Canadian name, though you may not be Canadian, but that's it. That's one I can read. Says, hi, David. Did you hear about FDA panel votes for Pfizer's booster shot for ages 65 plus? No, I did not. FDA panel votes for Pfizer booster shots. They support Pfizer booster shots. I did not hear about that. Wherever the science leads us, unfortunately, this may be our new world. It may be like a flu shot in steroids, in the sense that the flu shot up to this point, the regular flu shot, has been sort of basically optional, but now we have potentially here a COVID shot that may just be a yearly thing that you have to take if you want to be protected. So not all that surprising to see booster shots are being supported. And yes, of course, pharmaceutical companies love it. Of course they do. But that doesn't mean that they're bad. So it's important to understand that, because there is a true and correct critique of Big Pharma that I have. But that doesn't apply to everything. If you have an issue with Big Pharma, and this is obviously it's not directed at this comment, obviously, but because I know people that are like this, that think like this. Big Pharma, yes, has a lot of power, makes a ton of money off this system, but that is an issue with capitalism. That is an issue with a system where vaccines are privatized, are developed in private circles and make money for individuals. That's an issue with capitalism and the healthcare industry and pharmaceuticals. So if you have an issue with Big Pharma making money off these vaccines, then you should be a socialist, or you should support policy to decommodify that industry. But to then say that, oh, because they're making money, then the vaccines are bad, is just a ridiculous stretch. And I don't know how people can operate with that kind of mindset. All right, one more here before we go to the greatest story ever. Samantha Sider with a good job. Thank you, Samantha. All right. Here we go. A very old clip of Alex Jones has been unearthed. I have no idea what year this is from. I have no context for this, but man, this clip is something. And after this, I'm going to show you a second clip comparing the current Alex Jones to this, the old or the young Alex Jones.
House, home, no. Here we are at a council member's house, home, down here in Austin. And I'm not going to tell you their address or who they are, but you ought to see how overgrown their house is. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Very nice little neighborhood over there, I will tell you. But it's just crazy. Crazy. I think it makes me the maddest is how the paper countered with that story. We came out and did a story about Mr. Ellingson being harassed by the health department and environmental services, and 2 days later there was a front page thing on the health department saying how wonderful they are, stopping crime, sewage, and helping the children in East Austin. Why, everything health department did it. Again, we're not going to tell you the address down here of this council member, and we're not going to tell you who she is, but just for yourself, take a look at the hypocrisy. Much worse than Mr. Ellingson. And they're both in total disrepair and overgrown. So that's the hypocrisy of America now here, folks. And I think the council member needs to answer up why they're allowing the health department to go around terrorizing citizens in the name of environmentalism. So $2,000 a day for non-compliance. Yes, it is ridiculous that the health department is out terrorizing people.
Absolutely amazing. Now, before I say anything else, I got to give credit here to this no-name account that shared it. I don't know where they got it from, but just incredible footage. I'm going to get to it in a second here, the modern-day Alex Jones. But here you have somebody who is making sense, is doing real journalism, pointing out the hypocrisy of one of these lawmakers, and, is dare I say, a good-looking guy. What happened? But here we go. So obviously that isn't the current Alex Jones. I have no idea what turned him into what he is today. But let's compare that young Alex Jones to this modern day Alex Jones.
I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower is being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years since I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass. I will. I'm combat model, optimum self-sufficiency, probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor?
All right. I love it. That's hilarious. You can't take him seriously. Just to be clear, I'm laughing because this is so ridiculous. I hope no one takes this man seriously. But what happened? Like, really, what happened? What turns you into this nice-looking lad doing real journalism into just a complete loon? Like, I don't know. Maybe something was in the water. Maybe that's what happened here. It wasn't turning the frogs gay, but it turned Alex Jones into a complete imbecile. All right. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this video is maybe like 3 minutes long and most of it's clips, but man, I had to share that young Alex Jones. Just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Okay. That was my favorite story of the day. So, it's only down from here. But let me, I got a wrap up. So my weekly wrap up, I got some stories here that I did not even have time to pre-check. So let's hope these are all solid links. But man, I'm still recovering from young Alex Jones. All right, I will be right back with the weekly wrap up. All right, I'm back. It took a little longer because there's a video on a page in one of my tabs that I'll be using. There it is. That just keeps loading and loading and loading, and I don't want to start playing a video in the middle of me talking. But finally. All right. So weekly wrap up coming back. Oh, yeah. That person, who's this? Whatever your name is, Alex Jones as an indie folk song, look it up. Please do this. Do it after the stream, but look it up right now, put it in a different tab, pause it, watch it after the stream. It is so fantastic. It was posted up 2 years ago. I saw it, someone else posted again on Twitter this week. It is hilarious. I would play it here, but there's probably copyright on the music since it's so good. So I can't play it. But man, Alex Jones as indie folk music, hilarious and actually good. Surprisingly good. Okay. Weekly wrap up. Let's do it. And then I'll take all your chats and we can chat more and have a good time. Okay. It is time once again for the weekly wrap up. These are stories that I collect throughout the week, but I did not have the opportunity to do a full video on, but I want to touch on them here in this video. So let's start with this. This week, there was a recall in California. People in California decided to stick with Gavin Newsom, which I think was the right decision. But here you have Eric Ball tweeting out here, the map on the left is the recall results. The one on the right is the current COVID situation. So the orange voted for to keep Newsom, the blue voted to not. And look at this. It's, exact, almost exact. You have here people not taking COVID seriously in these counties, getting sick, taking in a lot of obviously bullshit information from their Facebook news feeds about vaccines. And these are the ones that our conservatives voted against keeping the governor. And yeah, very, very interesting. Next one here. Dylan Burns, who I quite enjoy. He's a great political streamer. But shares these two images without comment. Here you go. I'll read through them. Laura Loomer says here, this is, I believe this was months ago, but she said here, I hope I get COVID just so I can prove to people I've had bouts of food poisoning that are more serious and life-threatening than a hyped up virus. Have you ever eaten bad fajitas? That will kill you faster than COVID. Well, let's skip to today. Laura Loomer sending this message out. Just pray for me, please. Can't even begin to explain how brutal the body aches and nausea that come with COVID are. I am in so much pain. This is honestly the worst part about it. I just don't understand how people can be so stupid. How many stories do we have to see? And I got another one coming up of people who are anti-vax and or anti-mask, get COVID, go in the hospital and say, I should have got the vaccine. It happens over and over and over and over and over again. And really, we only hear about the high-profile examples. There's been, I think, 6 high-profile AM radio hosts, conservative AM radio hosts that were anti-vax on the air, and then got COVID and died. So there's obviously, thousands more who are just civilians that's happening to because they're taking in a lot of this bullshit misinformation. But it's just, this is the kind of thing, if you have anti-vaxxers in your life, I don't know, maybe this would swing them. Seeing someone like Laura Loomer, who is a conservative, who was, COVID is nothing, I hope I get it. And then she gets it and she is having a really hard time with it. So maybe this will change some minds, but I doubt it. This story, rationing healthcare. We always hear about, Medicare for all. Cannot have a universal system, cannot have Medicare for all. You'll have to ration care, as if Americans don't already ration care based on wealth. The difference is in other countries, care is rationed based on need. So if I'm in Canada, if I am in a car accident and I need emergency surgery, I'm going to get that immediately. Whereas, if I have an elective surgery that can wait a few months, that isn't a big deal, then I'll wait a few months and get that surgery. That's rationing in universal systems. Rationing in the American system is based on wealth. But now it's even got to the point where they're just rationing because they have to, because of COVID. So here you have Idaho hospitals begin rationing healthcare amid COVID surge. And not just Idaho, Alaska. Alaska's largest hospital says the strain of COVID is forcing it to ration care. So on top of rationing based on wealth, you also have just general rationing based on the fact that there's a lack of hospital beds. So yeah, just another example of how full of shit the arguments against Medicare for all really are. Glenn McGregor here, tweeting out this hilarity. Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, of course, conservative leader, Canadian Party, canceled a scheduled interview with CTV News for our series of sit-downs with party leaders running this week. He would not reschedule, unfortunately. We had Justin Trudeau last night, Jagmeet Singh tonight, and Anne-Marie Paul in the next few days. So why all of a sudden would the conservative leader cancel this interview? That likely would have been very easy. It's CTV News. I used to work for CTV News. Not the most left-wing channel, not at all. So it would have been an easy interview for him, but decided not to do it likely because of what is happening right now in Alberta with their conservative government. Proof of vaccination program announced in Alberta as state of public health emergency declared. So apparently the conservative government in Alberta, the UCP, they were going to wait until the election day to finally do this. But the cases of COVID are so bad in Alberta that they had to do it now. even potentially in the process hurting Aaron O'Toole and the federal conservatives by doing so, but they had to do it because they couldn't wait any longer. So now Aaron O'Toole has to avoid the press because he doesn't want to have to talk about this. Because before, a few weeks ago, he was praising the UCP and their handling of COVID-19, and clearly hasn't really gone well. Also worth noting here on that point, CEO of private healthcare company hosted fundraising event for conservative leader Aaron O'Toole. Aaron O'Toole previously helped promote the CEO's radical message about privatizing health services in Canada. So I have a video about this a few weeks ago. Aaron O'Toole discussing how we should have choice. We should allow provinces to include choice in healthcare. We all know what that means. He wants to allow further privatization of the Canadian healthcare system. So if you happen to be, for some reason, watching this video and you're on the fence between, I don't know, O'Toole, the Conservatives, and any other party, just be aware that this is a potential with the Conservative government. So it's very important that we continue investing more into our healthcare system and not further privatize it and turn us into the U.S. This story here, Alex Kane tweeting out, and you may have missed this due to all the coverage about her dress, but breaking news, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Mark Pocan are leading a renewed effort to prohibit the delivery of U.S.-made bombs to Israel, the latest example of how Israel's May assault on Gaza spurred progressives to challenge U.S. arms sales to Israel. So this is fantastic to see. We're going to see how far this can go, based on how Democrats and Republicans generally treat Palestinians. But it's good to see this, and there continues to be, or there should be, a continued, effort to try and prevent any further atrocities happening by the far right-wing Israeli government against Palestinians. Last story here, because it's another day, another example. Anti-vaccine activist who said there's no epidemic dies of COVID. So this guy's actually in Israel, but they're all over. How many have we had? Be it AM radio hosts, be it just the general public. I've done several videos where people, their family, the husband and wife were anti-vax, and the husband got COVID. He died. She survived. But there's these stories over and over and over again. I just want people to understand, if you're in this camp, first of all, I'm surprised you got here. How are you watching this? But just do a simple search. People, or just this, anti-vax got COVID. Search that in Google. I'm sure you'll find many examples of people that were anti-vax that ended up getting COVID and either died or got very sick. So, yeah, just another example of that. And this was the weekly wrap-up. There you go. Kind of an awkward way to end the segment. But, yeah. All right. Let's chat, shall we? Let me grab some chats here. A lot of chats, a lot more chats. Radzoso says Alex Jones makes more money as a right-wing lunatic. Yes, correct. But, I mean, you can also be very successful while not being a right-wing lunatic. I don't even really think it's about that. Alex Jones, look at he has to go through all these lawsuits, all the stress of that, getting kicked off social media, trying to continue a show with that. Like it would have been easier for him to just sell out to a network, a news network. But he chose a different path. So again, it's hard to know what leads people to be the way they are, but it is crazy to see just how different Alex Jones is today. This thing on the left says maybe it was greed, David, that changed Alex Jones. Again, same points apply here. Sure, I'm sure greed could be a part of it, but you could also be greedy and still make money, in the mainstream press. If that's your goal, is to just make money. There are other ways to do it while not losing your mind. Fly Chomper Fly says the portrait of Dorian Jones, gray. Fly Chomper Fly says again, this one's cut off. protest in favor of January 6th insurrections. About the protest in favor of January 6th insurrections, I have a different perspective. I saw videos of the people gathering to attend it before it happened. I don't know what this is in relation to, but thank you for the super chat. Okay, that's that. Let me grab some randos. Yes, support me on. You know what? Thank you for mentioning that, Cheryl. TheRationalNational.com/join. Support the show. Maybe I'll start an NPR show and I'll talk like this. Actually, what I want to do is have a second channel. I'm saying this aloud as a way to motivate me, but at some point I want to have more. So I kind of want to do what I was doing with my Twitch channel, but do it on YouTube, because fuck Twitch for kicking me off for no fucking reason. They took away my partnership like a month ago for literally no reason. They claimed I was streaming their content somewhere else when I was never doing that. And there's no way to contact them. They're surprisingly worse than YouTube. I didn't think it was possible, but Twitch, surprisingly worse than YouTube in terms of creator support. So I want to start a second channel and, stream games and just talk and shoot the shit and do that kind of thing while leaving this channel intact and doing what it's doing. So no OnlyFans is, I'm a father now. OnlyFans not going to happen. But definitely when I launch that channel, you'll hear about it. I'll do a video on it. But that may still be months away. But just letting you know, in case you miss my Twitch stuff, I'm hoping to breathe more life into that kind of content, but just with a second YouTube channel. Fly Chomper Fly, again, thank you for all the support today, Mr. Fly. Thank you. This is cut off as well. YouTube, why do you do this to me? Says, except for the bad organizers, the average person there honestly believed their government was being stolen from them. The people. Their media reinforced that. What would you do if the right wing took over? Oh, I'm not even sure what this is in relation to. I completely agree that I think the people there, I do believe a lot of them, most of them were convinced that their government was being stolen. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That doesn't absolve them from being completely insane. Like, I don't know what point you're trying to make there. But yes, ultimately it's the fault of the media they're consuming. Yes, I agree. But I don't even know. I don't know what I was talking about that raised this issue. But yeah, just because you can blame someone else for your brainwashing doesn't mean there's no blame put on you. All right. Let me grab some randos. Oh, another super chat. Sting on the left. Sorry guys. Super chats take precedent because these are because that's how it works. The Sting on the left says, I would love for the NDP to win to see my brother from another mother, Jugmeat, be the PM. All my Canadian relatives are going to vote for him. Let's go. Awesome. Good to see. I think there's a potential though that they can gain some seats, but I don't want to get too confident. We'll see how it all goes. At the very least, I really hope Avi wins in BC. I interviewed him this month. Check that out. Avi Lewis, fantastic candidate. It's a tough riding to win, but if he can be a member of parliament, that would be incredible. In case you don't know, Avi Lewis, he is the for Americans, this is an easy way to describe him to you. The husband of Naomi Klein. There you go. So he's awesome. All right. Let me grab some more. Talk to Hassan. He will be able to help you. He's too busy. I would feel really weird and awkward, like messaging Hassan and being like, "Hey, hi Hassan. Yeah, the Twitch took away my partner. Can you help me?" Like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Can't do that. Trying to find something here to read. Cheryl says Greens are doing well in Kitchener Center. Liberal candidate had to drop out. I got to see those. I got to see that polling, and who that candidate is. But yeah, there's been at least a couple now, Liberal candidates that had to drop out or pause their campaigning. Detroit Microsound says, please join the crew at TYT. I've been on the show a couple times as like a guest. Go back to January. I was on the show in January. But, you know, I got no problem being on that show. But the issue with doing, like, I work all the time. I don't want to complain, but I work all the time. So it's just doing other shows, it takes away the ability for me to, like, do shit. That said, I still go on other shows. In fact, on Sunday, Dr. Heamed Out, who I think is awesome. I'm going to be on his show talking about Canadian politics, the Canadian election on Sunday night. So look up Dr. Heamed Out. I believe he's only on Twitch. I'm not positive, but I think he's only on Twitch. But let me type his name out. There you go. He's a real doctor. And a Canadian. And a nice guy. Mike H. says, will it be easier for Americans to immigrate to Canada if the NDP ever wins? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of their immigration plan. So I cannot answer that question. Andrew says, anything but conservative / PPC strategically. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to endorse that strategy as I have endorsed the NDP. But yeah, don't vote for the Conservatives or the PPC. I was in a suburb of Toronto a couple weeks ago, and I was shocked at how many PPC signs there were. It was wild. But it was, it was an area that has been devastated since I'm forgetting words now. But since there's been the just complete decimation of the working class in that area in Oshawa, and it doesn't give an excuse for people to just completely ignore the overt racist and bigoted shit that the PPC puts out. But I guess they feel they're being listened to by that party in some way. But at the same time, it's very unlikely they're going to win a seat. But we'll see. We'll see what that support means on Monday. Scrolling up. And my AC is broken in this room at least, so boiling my ass off. Probably gonna get off in 5 or 10 minutes. Hermer says, Dole, what is the best with Canadian politics and the best with American politics? Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, I cover both. That's what I do. Man, I've gone this long without mentioning one video game. What's wrong with me? How is that possible? All for Nothing. I just picked this one out randomly. Says David Dole, the progressive sex symbol. Wow, thank you. Just a random chat I pulled out. What a kind thing to say. Kind but absurd, but kind. Yeah, it is boiling in here. Good God. What else stands out here? Oh, I got a question for you guys. How's the camera quality? Should I upgrade? I'm kind of a camera nerd, being as I went to school for video production, and I've been wanting to upgrade my camera, though I probably don't need it. So I think I'm just looking for an excuse to get a new camera, because the thing is, I would love to stream in 4K. I would love to, but I don't think YouTube even is able to do that. Let alone the program that I use. So, but like once 4K streaming is definitely possible, at some point I'm gonna upgrade, because I think it would be amazing to do this shit in 4K. But I don't think people really care. Yeah, nobody cares. So, what I did do this week though is I replaced my capture card. You know, the other one that would flicker on me sometimes. If you watched the show long enough, you would notice that. Finally replaced that, and there appears to be no issues at all. Though there was some issue with the color initially. If you watch my video, I think from Monday, I had one video out where I looked like I was almost green. The color in the capture, for some reason, was all screwed up, but I ended up being able to fix it. So I think I'm back to normal now. But yeah, no. Thank you all for bringing me back down to earth. I don't need to upgrade my camera. It's perfectly fine. Even though it's like, 8 years old, but one day I'll move to 4K. Myriad Corp says, David, you shouldn't have cut your hair. It looked good. You couldn't be more wrong. Even if sometimes it looked fine, it's way too much work. It took me way too long to wash my hair. Every time I washed my hair, I'd be like pulling out clumps of hair because it was just like stuck in there. It was disgusting. I'm never going to have long hair again. Sorry to disappoint you. That was a moment in time that will never happen ever again unless there is a global pandemic where I cannot get a haircut. But apart from that, I will never let my hair grow again. It's way more practical having it cut. And I think it looks better short, but maybe that's just me. There is a real fight over this though. What camera do I use? I use a Canon C100 that I got initially to shoot a documentary, and now I use it for this. It was, at the time, very expensive. It was like all the money I had to buy that camera, and still holds up for me. I've used the exact same camera since the beginning of this show. Though there were a couple of videos I think I shot with the DSLR, but for the most part, I've been using this camera the entire time. Dynamic says, how do you like your steak? I don't. That's the answer. I don't. I don't eat steak anymore. I am a pescatarian, so I don't eat steak. But when I did eat steak, medium rare is how I would eat it. But to be honest, I never loved beef that much. Chicken is what I really miss. I miss chicken wings. I miss chicken wings more than anything. I miss chicken wings so much. There are replacements kind of to chicken wings, but not really, that are vegan, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all. And, I can't confidently say that I will never have chicken wings again. I've been pescatarian now for probably 2 years, but I don't know. At some point, I may have to just at least take a little nibble of a chicken wing just because they're so damn good. See, I knew it. Big fight here about the hair. Some say short's better, some say long's better. Well, the short has won because I'm not making it long. Linda Sophia says, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a progressive and was a Bernie delegate in 2016. I have taken a protocol against COVID daily, but will not take the vaccine. I am pro-choice. Stay open-minded. Well, we will disagree. I'm glad you follow and listen to me, but doesn't it bother you to see people who are anti-vaccine get COVID and die? Like, and to be clear, yes, if you get vaccinated, there is still a potential you can get COVID-19, but the impact on your health is diminished considerably, and the chance of you dying is almost nothing unless you already have previous or preconditions. Preconditions? What are the health condition? Whatever the hell the word is. I'm forgetting words now. But unless you have serious health issues, if you're vaccinated, you're good. So educate. I would just look at those stories, see people that have regretted it, change their minds, and be aware of that. They're really, if you've ever taken Tylenol or Advil or any other medication, there's no reason for you to be afraid of a vaccine. Just because you're poked with it doesn't mean it's really any different. It's protecting you against a deadly virus. But I doubt I will change your mind in this moment. Just look around and look at the people that regretted it. That's all I'll say. Pre-existing condition. Thank you. You can tell I didn't get my sleep. Yes, pre-existing condition is what I meant to say. I thought you froze up. You can stay very still. Yeah, I when I'm reading through these chats, I am largely motionless. What was I going to do? Oh, there was something else. There's another story. I'm not going to do this story properly because I just can't right now. But I do want to share this since this is actual good news. Doesn't happen very often. But so earlier in the week, maybe to properly set this up, there was, how do I set this up properly? There was this. And why do I leave all these tabs open? It confuses me. Close, close. There we go. Close, 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 close. All right. So there earlier in the week, there was or maybe it was last week. No, actually a few weeks ago, I think. A decision. So India Walton is the socialist in Buffalo that basically is going to become the new mayor of Buffalo after she won I guess it was a primary against the current mayor. And then Byron Brown, the current mayor, is attempting to run again, still run against India Walton, even though he isn't the Democrat in the race. And a judge that is actually connected to a real estate figure, and The Intercept has that story. Buffalo's developer class backing last-ditch attempt against socialist India Walton. So a federal judge who wants Buffalo's incumbent mayor back on the ballot is being scrutinized for his real estate ties. So a federal judge that ruled to put Byron Brown back on the ballot is tied to the real estate industry, but thankfully it was overturned. So India Walton here tweeting out, the decision has been overturned. Today we are very glad to see the Fourth Department has upheld the rule of law and said Byron Brown's name should not be on the ballot. Buffalo voters deserve clear, transparent election laws and politicians who abide by them even when they lose. And can you imagine if India Walton did this to Byron Brown? Because he was being treated as a real candidate by the local Buffalo press. It was ridiculous. But if the roles were reversed, they would be trashing her or ignoring her or calling her crazy. But Byron Brown does it, and the mayor is still running. They treated him as a serious person. But it's good they overturned this. But to be clear, there is still a federal court case pending. So I don't have any recent updates on that, if anything is going on with that right now. But at the very least, right now, it looks like India Walton's going to be the name on the ballot, and Byron Brown won't be there. So that's some good news that we definitely need. It's good news. Sometimes it's far and few between. More chat, super chat. Bose Einstein, again with the good support, says Texas is planning to segregate black kids in schools. What? Okay, that seems too crazy for even Texas to do. I don't know anything about that story, so I cannot comment, obviously, but that sounds ridiculous. All right, I'm sweating and sweating and sweating. Let me grab a few more and then jump off. Oh, let me put this back up. Here we go. David, any truth to the rumor that you're Cenk Uger's nephew? No, that's Progressive Voice. That's not me. What else here? Uncool Jay says India Walton came and helped canvass for Nina here in Ohio. Much love to her and hope to see a resounding victory. Will you cover India Walton's election night? I will cover the election. I'll say this: assuming she wins. If she loses, I'm not sure I can. Actually, no, I'll still cover it because she should definitely win. So if she loses, then some weird shit's going on. But just because there's so much bad news all the fucking time, like I gotta I gotta pick and choose my bad news stories. But no, I'll cover that for sure. Because that would be amazing. A Democratic Socialist of a major city in the U.S. Pretty dope. Mark O'Brien says, by the way, Nina Turner has officially joined TYT as a guest co-host. Yes, she has. Actually, I could have done a story on that. That's kind of a story, right? I guess that was the announcement. Remember there was like Nina T some announcement for mid-September. I guess that was the announcement. I was hoping she would, run again, re-challenge in that. But it's too early, obviously, to re-challenge in that district. But the other speculation was that maybe she would start like some kind of group. But I mean, she was already a member of TYT. She had a podcast on TYT. So her like joining the show, I don't think it's, in full-time capacity, but her joining the show isn't really completely a new thing. She already had a podcast there, but Nina's awesome. So to hear more of her thoughts, on issues is definitely a plus. Jamie says some folks kind of calling her a sellout for the TYT announcement. How much money do you think she's making or that TYT employees make? People really, you don't have any idea how little money there is in this space. Like if TYT wanted to make money, they would turn conservative. That's where all the billionaires are. Can you imagine the amount of money they would get from billionaires if TYT turned conservative? Oh my God, they would all be rolling in dough. But that it's such a ridiculous idea to claim that Nina sold out by going to TYT. Nina was a host on or a contributor to CNN, which I think is awesome. But if you want to, claim sellout, I guess that would have been the time to do it. But she was on there spreading a progressive left-wing message. So, and she was always awesome on those panels. Man, it's unfortunate she wasn't continued to be allowed or invited on. But she would always shake up those panels because you'd have like, a Republican, a Democrat who's actually a conservative, another Democrat who's actually conservative, and then Nina Turner. And it was like her perspective, her the points that she would make on those panels on like State of the Union was just nowhere near what anyone else was talking about. But yeah. Oh my God, people are ridiculous. Cynthia, Anna Kasparian makes $50,000 a month. Are you insane? Look, I don't think Anna would mind me sharing the obvious because if you follow her on Instagram or you have followed the show at all, you know this. Anna lives in a condo. She's making 50 grand a month. She's not gonna live in a condo. She's gonna have like a Hassan house. Not gonna live in a condo. So people are ridiculous. And by the way, if she was making that, good, she deserves it. But she's not making that. So it's just, I don't know where people get these figures from. It's hilarious. Oh my God. Like, that's Hassan money right there. You gotta start a political revolution on Twitch to make that kind of money. Detroit Microsound, did I read this already? Says, get yourself back to TYT, David, with a winky face. At some point, I'm sure I'll be invited back on, and on like a power panel or something. That show, though, is, I gotta say, it's always better when people are there in person. COVID has obviously made that a lot tougher, but having those panels with people physically there, it's just a lot easier, a lot better to have conversations with people in the same physical space, because there's always like at least a minor delay on the video, and you're not always looking at the video when you're talking to people or when you're talking to the guest, so that's always an issue as well. But yeah, so it's hard to read body language and that kind of thing. So I'm sure at some point I'll be on that show as I'm on other shows, but it's never as good as it is when people are there physically. All right. One more here. One more chat. Jeff Badouin says, any thoughts on Yang wanting to start a third party? LOL, caps lock. Good luck. I don't know. I'm not sure. Start your third party. I have no idea what kind of impact that could have. I really don't. It's hard to really judge Yang's pull when he came in like what, 4th or 5th in New York City for mayor. Like, how strong is his constituency really? Maybe it's stronger across the country. But what's the party about? Like, he's still a capitalist. He's basically, Yang is a Democrat. He just supports a very weak universal basic income. Like, that's not, and by the way, he may support that while also supporting cuts to social services. So in which case that would make him more libertarian. So he's somewhere between a Democrat and a libertarian. Like, it's kind of hard to read him, and I don't know how much of a constituency there really is for that. And because of the nature of third parties in the U.S., that's always going to be an issue. Case Study QB, much love to David and the audience. Check out Case Study QB. He, of course, clips many of the awesome clips that I've used on my channel. He's a great guy. I interviewed him on this channel several weeks ago. Check out that interview. Yeah, he's great. Black Hawk says Yang would get 1% again. Yeah, I don't think Yang is as popular as he thinks he is. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. Thank you. That's the way to end. Norm Macdonald, one of my favorite comedians, if not my favorite comedian of all time. The only big comedian I've seen I've seen live twice, and both times in tears the entire time. He's the kind of guy that could make anything funny. He's his own person, very unique personality. Nobody could be Norm Macdonald. He's his own person. Just one of the greatest comedians of all time. Amazing guy. And also Canadian. So that makes him even better. All right. Time to go. And thank you all for showing up and supporting the show and chatting and having a good time. All right. See you all later. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. Goodbye.